Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Dolphin Chronicles. I hope everyone's doing all right today. I'm here with my boy Alex. How you doing today?
Good, man. We just carved some pumpkins, and I did a really bad job. I'm not much of a pumpkin carver.
So, can we say that you are the Mike McDaniel of pumpkin carving?
Yeah, we can go with that. I'm certainly not the Andy Reid of pumpkin carving, or the what's the guy at Green Bay?
Matt LaFleur?
Matt LaFleur. I'm not the Matt LaFleur of pumpkin carving. We could say, yeah, I'm probably the Mike McDaniel or the Gerard Mayo of pumpkin carving.
Okay, you could have also been the Robert Saleh.
Oh, yeah, but he's actually unemployed, so he wouldn't be carving pumpkins.
Oh, no, he pumpkin carved so bad that they said, you know what, bro, have a seat.
Get out of here.
All right, well, it's a somber Monday.
Yeah, it's
Dolphins
not a victory
lose.
Monday.
No, Dolphins lose in an ugly fashion. What positive can you take away from last night's game? Oh, from yesterday's game?
Absolutely nothing. No, our defense continues to play well enough to win football games. That's about it. Our defensive unit comes to play. They seem to be ready. They seem to be prepared. We had some missed tackles. So we have to work on tackling. Hopefully we have some tackling drills that we can do. But we were without, Javon Holland. We were missing Emmanuel Ogba as well. That's a big piece up front.
Especially with Phillips out.
What's that?
Especially with Phillips out.
Yeah, definitely. So, man, it's about getting healthy and about getting Tua back in there. And that's next week. So considering, I mean, let's break it down a little bit further. I mean, I'm sure we'll get to that, but the Jets lost.
Yeah.
So we're still in second place in the division. We still got a game against Buffalo where we can, kind of control our own destiny type deal. It looks like this year a 9-8 or a 10-7 could get you a postseason berth.
It could. That's something we can definitely talk about. The one positive I got out of yesterday's game was our running game. I think
our running game has continued to average, well over 4 yards a carry. What are we averaging now?
That sounds about right. But
4.5, something like that.
It was the sticking with the running game that we've been clamoring for McDaniel to stick with the running game, keep at with the running game. And this was almost a not by choice, but almost he had to. Huntley went down with that shoulder. He got into a little bit of a groove with Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith continues to shine. That's another positive that I failed to mention. Jonnu Smith continues to shine. Obviously, the opposing teams are trying to take away Waddle and trying to take away Tyreek, but Jonnu Smith continues to shine, man. I really like what Jonnu's adding to this offense, and I think it could only get better now with Tua back under center.
Yeah, so like I said, Jonnu Smith was getting into a little bit of a groove. Huntley goes down with the shoulder. Tim Boyle comes in. And you're not going to do, and it's mind-boggling to say, you're not going to do with Huntley what you did with Tua, and you're not going to do with Boyle what you did with Huntley. So it's almost like starting from square zero 3 weeks in a row, because you started from square zero, even though you shouldn't have, with Skyler, and then you started from square zero with Huntley, and now you started from square zero with Boyle. The good thing is Huntley's injury doesn't seem like it's going to be too crazy. He should be the number 2 next week behind Tua. But something I can't get over is you can't have Waddle and Hill have 0 targets in that first half. I think it's absolutely absurd with any quarterback.
Yeah. Again, man, it's that's a coaching thing. It's I don't think we practice hard enough, man. One thing that kind of stuck with me, I was watching that Pittsburgh and New York Jets game. Obviously, Russell Wilson is not your typical backup quarterback. Russell Wilson has had great years in the league. He's a phenomenal quarterback. I knew he would cook last night. I said it. I said it to my friends and a few buddies at work that he would do well. Why? Because he's in a good organization. Mike Tomlin doesn't mess around. His coaching staff doesn't mess around. Those guys practice, and they practice hard. And that's where I think we're lacking. I don't think we're taking practice seriously. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of egos, a lot of big personalities on our team, and I think that's getting to us. Mike McDaniel being one of those egos and personalities. I think he needs to stop trying to be Mr. I'm your buddy and I'm your friend, and I mean, although that's an element that needs to be there, but I don't think he's got it balanced out right. I mean, you can see that they're not ready to come out. They're flat. There's no intensity on the football field, and it starts with our stars, right? There's no urgency. It's almost like they're not giving the same effort just because Tua's not under center, and that can't happen, all right? Because you got a Washington Commanders team that comes out. Given they played the Panthers, but Marcus Mariota came out and didn't miss a fucking beat. Okay,
so I'll stop you there for a second. I agree with the point you're making. I disagree with the examples you're using. And I'll tell you this. Russell Wilson, how many reps, how many snaps does he have? Russell Wilson can step out of bed and start playing quarterback. and I don't think
but these are professional football players that are supposed to be ready for their chance. And
I agree with you, but there's something to be said about reps because Flacco, I'm sure we don't know what the culture is in Indianapolis.
Flacco was a miss too. Flacco went out and publicly said that he expected the Dolphins to call him this offseason, and we didn't.
Right.
That's a miss from our front office. You can't go into the season, and we've talked about this, thinking that Skylar Thompson and Mike White are going to be there and they're going to be able to step up and take care of business if your franchise quarterback goes down, which he had a history of doing.
Right. But what I'm saying is Flacco can step out of bed and play quarterback. Russell Wilson can step out of bed and play quarterback. There's Mariota has had enough, although he hasn't been a starter all the time. He's had enough reps where he knows he can get out of bed and run an offense because he's done it. It's in them. I don't think practice has anything to do with that. I agree that the front office is a miss, but I also agree that we don't practice hard enough. I also agree that McDaniel, like you said, doesn't hold these guys accountable enough to their own. And I'll go back to this. There's no culture. There's no standard. The Steelers have a culture. The Steelers have a standard.
Very much so.
The Heat have a culture. They have a standard. Exactly. If you're not meeting that standard, the door is right there. And I think that –
And they're quick to point you to it.
Right. And I think Flores was on his way to doing something like that, but his people management skills were negatively just terrible.
So he was lacking the soft skills that McDaniel possesses.
Correct.
But McDaniel's stubbornness to, I don't know, man, I'm just –
McDaniel's hard skills are lacking because he's not setting the standard.
Yeah, but he's also not coaching up to our expectations.
That's a separate point that I also agree with.
That this last game and quite possibly one of the other ones that we just lost. We can attribute the Seattle game to and most definitely this Indy game, the coaching. That's on McDaniel this last game.
And there's no excuse for it because you had 2 weeks.
2 weeks to prepare. They're without Jonathan Taylor.
Correct.
Up 10-3 at the half. Didn't we receive the second half kickoff?
We did.
And then you go for a 55-yarder on a 4th and 1.
And that's another thing. Jason Sanders, get off my team. But also your bell cows, your consistent guys, your standard bearers lost you this game. Alec Ingold, fumble. Raheem Mostert, fumble. I think those two turnovers single-handedly lost us the game. If we don't turn those, because our running game was cooking both drives, and those turnovers absolutely killed us.
Well, yeah, you can't turn the ball over, especially when your offense is inept.
Although we did get out coached, Mike McDaniel is doing a poor job coaching. There is no standard. There is no accountability. I think you still get out of Indy with a win, if not for those 2 turnovers, which is crazy to say.
Oh, of course. No, I would agree. I mean, it's unfortunate, man. And my question is, does plugging Tua back in really fix all this stuff that was brought to light when Tua was hurt?
Yes. There's a mindset correction when Tua's in there. And it's sad to say from professional players because, like you said, these guys are professionals. These guys need to be professionals whether Tua's in there or not.
Right.
But
that mindset correction has to come from the coach. It has to come from the locker room. That has to be one of these things that doesn't change from week to week, regardless of who's under center.
Well, the mindset correction that I was talking about, you're right. There is a certain mindset correction that does need to come from the coach and from within the player itself. But I think the mindset correction that I'm speaking about is a lot of these pre-snap penalties are going to get cleaned up because Tua's in there. These guys are not thinking about what I have to do. The offense has their general back, and he's going to put everyone into place pre-snap. Everyone just needs to take care of their job. In terms of that, I think that mindset does get cleaned up.
So do you say that there were players out there that were trying to do too much, and that's why you didn't succeed on offense, or was that is because you're saying this is someone who's gonna obviously have control of the offense, tell the guys, hey, you go there, you go there, you go here, you stay there, and then kind of just rally the troops. Or are you saying that there was guys that were trying to do too much, and that's why we had those pre-snap penalties, or?
So that what I'm trying to tell you brings me back to a story
because that comes from a veteran offensive line too. You have a veteran offensive line in there. You have a guy who can also direct traffic, like a Jason Kelsey or like a Connor Williams.
Well, okay, so there was a little bit of that from who was it that I saw doing it? It was Tehran and Raheem a little bit. But here's what it brings me back to this story that I wanted to tell you. You remember Austin Collie? You remember him?
I just saw him on LinkedIn, I think.
Austin Collie, the wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts.
Mm-hmm.
He was balling. You remember he was Manning's number 1 for a little bit.
Yeah.
He went out and Manning threw a bad ball, but Austin Collie put out one arm and he didn't catch it. Austin Collie, as the number 1, comes back into a dugout and Peyton Manning directs him to a sideline. And he's like,
comes back into the huddle, you mean? He said dugout.
No, he comes back into the huddle and Manning directs him to a sideline. Mm-hmm. As he's walking to the sideline, the coach goes, "You're in." "No, you're in, turn around." And he goes, "I'm not. Peyton told me to sit out." And the coach said, "Oh, okay." The story afterwards was, if you're gonna be on this offense, you don't do that one-handed BS. I don't care who you are. The standard is the standard. Get off the field. And I think Tua brings a little bit of that in terms of if you're not.
You think Tua is that much of a hard ass?
Well, I think he does it not in that Peyton Manning hard ass way, but I think Tua's not going to throw you the ball. That makes sense?
Unless you're his first read.
So that standard comes back with Tua. That standard may not have been there with Huntley, with Boyle, with Skyler.
No, I mean you're absolutely right. I mean, essentially we're on our 4th string quarterback.
Yeah,
right?
and that focus with Tua returns because that ball's going to be gone in 2 seconds. I'm either going to be ready or I'm going to be off the field because it's going to bounce up my hands and it's going to be a pick and the coaches are going to get on me. So I got to be on my P's and Q's. Yeah. That returns. Now, back to your point. It shouldn't be that way. These guys are professionals.
Yeah.
And it's terrible to see. And I think another big thing is it's a glaring deficiency in roster construction. That
roster construction that goes back to what the stuff we didn't do in the offseason.
Correct.
Correct.
One miss was the backup quarterback.
I like that roster construction.
Offensive line
was not extending the guys that we drafted. Okay, when we had to extend them, like a Robert Hunt and like a Christian Wilkins, you can't lose those guys.
Well,
I'm still been out of shape about that.
Christian Wilkins is hurt. Nobody knew that. But I can't defend giving the type of money Washington gave or Carolina gave
Hunt.
I'm sorry. It was absurd. Now, you know me and where I live. I live in the trenches. I think they should have gone out and spent some money on the trenches.
Of course, that's where the game is won. The game is won in the trenches.
Correct.
Right? Because what happens? The game is won in the trenches and with good coaching. Because look at Kansas City. How many star players has Kansas City lost already this season? And Isaiah Pacheco or Rashee Rice. They just plug guys in and they continue to win football games. Yes, some may say that they have the zebras in their pockets. Some may say that they've gotten pretty fortunate because they just beat up on a banged-up San Francisco team. But the fact remains that they win the games, and at the end of the day, they're undefeated. Why? Because they have Andy Reid, and they have Steve Spagnuolo, who has an amazing defense, a front seven, right? And they have an offensive line that's a cohesive unit.
I'm not a Kansas City fan, but I know that their center is Creed Humphreys. Their left tackle is Orlando Brown Jr.
Yeah.
Their right tackle is the kid from Florida. He gets flagged all the time for the offsides. Is it Jawan Taylor?
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, Jawan Taylor. So and I don't know who the guards are, but there's these guys that offensive line, right? And I think Tehran and I think Austin for a little bit. But we don't have a center. I'm sorry. Aaron Brewer has been non-existent. Our guard, I'm sorry. Eichenberg, I know you're out there trying, but you're just not – you're not a starting – we drafted the only non-NFL starting guard out of Notre Dame. And he didn't give up a sack at Notre Dame. So I don't know what happened. But that's where I think roster construction and the deficiency of this team is glaring. Even though they're playing their hearts out. They're playing
Jawan Taylor, you're right. Jawan Taylor, Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, Joe Thuney.
Thuney's another stalwart.
There you go. And Wanya Morris.
Right. So I think that they've been playing really, really well because our running game is evident of that. The offensive line hasn't played well, but I don't think they can take control of a game. In contrast to that, look at the University of Miami. The University of Miami's offensive line can absolutely take control of a game.
Certainly.
And they've shown that in a couple of games where they've just run the football down your throats.
Yeah, no matter who's back there. A.J. Allen, Damian Martinez, Mark Fletcher. It doesn't matter.
And
the same with Kansas City, right? Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, Carson Steele.
You know what gets me hard on? You know what got me a hard on? Early in the season. Do you remember? I forgot who it was against. It might have been the first game where the Lions took the ball in overtime and Jared Goff did not throw a pass. They grabbed that running game and rammed it right down their throats and said, go ahead and stop us. Our uglies are going to ram this down right down your throat.
No, look what the Denver Broncos did just the other day to the Saints, dude. Javonte Williams ran. Bo Nix didn't have to do anything.
And that's what I envision this Dolphin team being. I love Hill.
But no, it doesn't need to be just that. There's enough talent on this roster for it to be an equal balance, right? Because what does that do when you gouge them on the run on first down and you're not playing behind the chains and you're getting 5 and 6 and 7 yards, everything else opens up, man.
And I'll go back to the University of Miami, right? They went to Cal and they were down big. I think it was 38-10 at one point.
They were down like 25, bro. Yeah.
The problem with Cal was this. The time of possession, Miami, I think, was 25-7 at halftime. And I was watching it with a buddy, and he said, look at the time of possession. You watch in the fourth quarter. And what I'm saying is that offensive line's ability to stuff the run down your throat keeps their defense on the field. And when you want to run those play actions, when you want to run these things, that wear and tear on that defense softens them up to where in the second half you can do whatever you want. That's what I envision by a Dolphins team that has an offensive line that can control and take over a game.
But you know what needs to happen? Now that they realize that Jalen Wright is a stud, Devon Achane is a stud. Whenever they have the opportunity to extend those guys, they need to do that.
Does Raheem Mostert get traded?
Hey, Raheem Mostert is at the end of his career, brother. We need to worry about the future, and that's Devon Achane and Jalen Wright.
I understand. I'm saying, does he get traded? There's been rumors that he might get traded back to San Francisco.
Hey, if he gets traded, I need to turn that pick into an offensive lineman or a high draft pick.
Okay, but I'm saying, you think that is that something you would have considered?
Yeah, I would certainly consider it at this point. You know, what Raheem gave us last year was an anomaly, right? Great year, fantastic year, but in order to duplicate that is very, very tough, right? And he's been battling some injuries, right? He's still got a little bit of worth left. You know, you see if there's interest in Raheem.
Well, forget Raheem. Do you think that what the offense as a whole gave us last year is an aberration?
No, I don't. I think this offense is very capable, and they added more pieces.
So you think this offense?
You have a healthier Devon Achane. You have a Jonnu Smith, which is better than Durham Smythe. Okay.
So in this season, we didn't see it against the Jaguars, and we didn't see it in the time that Tua was healthy against the Bills. What do you see
that's a small sample size, Byron?
Huh?
That's a small sample size for right, so the Jaguars. Is you're shaking those cobwebs off from those series that you didn't play in the preseason, and you saw that in the second half.
What is it that you saw in that small sample size that gives you hope when Tua comes back against the Cardinals for the offense? Because the defense is going to do the thing.
Well, I mean, if you want that throw to Tyreek, I mean, there's not much there, but that throw to Tyreek, what was that 75 or 80 yard touchdown?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the explosiveness is there. The guys are there. The personnel is there. Okay. Now when Tua comes back, you have a healthy offense, right? Are we missing anybody?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And are we getting what's the deal with Isaiah Wynn? Is he off the pup?
I don't know. He was on IR. I don't think they've opened up his practice window yet. But we did lose, I think,
Braxton Berrios. But Braxton gave us a big donut this season. No receptions, no nothing.
Is that on him, though? Because, to be honest, I don't think he's been targeted. A bigger O is OBJ, who's been targeted and just apparently is now a full-fledged sponsor for Crisco.
Yeah. But I think that changes, of course, with Tua returning against Arizona, man. But I do see glimpses that this offense can be better than last year's offense in certain moments. I mean, you have an explosive yards after catch guy in Jonnu Smith. You forget that he's a big yak guy, man. You get that guy the ball in the open field with some blockers in front. Yeah, that's dangerous, right? With Tua back under center, they're not going to be able to just hone in and take out and eliminate Waddle and Tyreek because Tua's going to find your other guys. Whereas our backups could not. They were unable to. They just couldn't. If they just couldn't get the ball out quick enough, and that resulted in dumping it off and losing yardage and taking sacks. So it was bad. But I do feel that this offense can be as explosive, if not more explosive, in spurts than last year's offense.
Okay. Well,
simply because you still have an Achane. Now you have another game breaker in Jalen Wright. This guy, whenever he's been in the game, has done well and has run hard. Then if if you can get just a 50% Tyreek, on you just there was pieces that were added, and this offense should be better. Now, obviously, we dealt with some injuries, and it hasn't been pretty thus far, but I really do think they can be better than last year's offense. Now, obviously, last year's team was in a better position, this at this point in the season last year because we were healthy. But hopefully now, with the exception of obviously Phillips being out for the year, I don't know what the status for Holland is. I don't know where Chubb is in his recovery.
Well, that was what I was going to say.
I would
Chubb should
imagine
be
he's
close.
pretty close.
Right.
So if the team is getting healthier and Tua doesn't go out again, then like I said, I don't see 10 wins being far fetched.
Okay. All right. Well, only time will tell. We got the Arizona Cardinals, who happen to be on Monday night.
Against the Chargers.
Week.
Yeah, we'll see how they play.
Yeah, we should. We get them next week. Hopefully, Tua will be in there. He's programmed to be in there. We'll see where Chubb.
Hey, can you pull up? Hey, can you pull up that video from the Tua presser where they asked him about his future and you know which one I'm talking about?
He said, "I love this game, and I love it, and this game will be the death of me."
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah,
right. He's refusing to watch. He's refusing to watch. He's refusing to wear Guardian cap, even though
personal preference. He said, yeah.
Right, even though Devon A. Chan wore his, I didn't notice it until later on in the game.
Do you think it slowed him down any?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think it. All it does is protect him, and if peace of mind is what's going to do that, then I'm all for it. I think Tua might wear it by the end of the season. I think it's highly unlikely, but we'll see. Like I said, we have Arizona next week coming up. But the one of two Monday Night Football games starting now. Before we get out here, you have anything else, Alex?
Yeah, here we go. Let's watch. Here's the video. Let me send you the link. Hold on. I think this is good to close on this one. There's the link right there. See if you're able to play it.
Let's see. I may not be able to play it, but give me a second. I may be able to pull it up. Hold on. So your prediction for the Cardinals game?
Man, you never know what you're going to get with the Cardinals. You never know what Kyler you're going to get. They can be a physical team. James Conner's a bruising back. Kyler is someone who's going to make plays out of the pocket. Once again, I think it's a very winnable game, especially with Tua back. I think the boys are going to be hyped. It's a home game. It's following Miami, FSU. I feel I like our chances against Arizona. I mean, I'm definitely an optimist to a fault sometimes, and I'm a little bit of a homer. But I do think our offense can get back on track very easily. But we need to start fast. If we start slow, then I don't like our chances. I don't like we can't be falling behind and playing catch up. Although our offense is very capable to put up points in a hurry, we have to get off to a fast start. If we score a touchdown on the opening drive, we win this game.
Okay. And then where can they find you? We'll go ahead and close with that video. Where can they find you?
On X, TX_TSB.
Subscribe to our social media. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe, hit the like. Anything Miami Hurricanes, hurricane warning on Wednesdays. Now with the playoffs starting, Inter Miami, false line on Thursdays. And then we will do This Week in Miami on Tuesdays.
Making a cameo.
Here on Kendall Sports Network. And then peace out, everybody. We'll go ahead and end with that Tua video.
Yes.
A lot of people are worried about your health and making sure that you're okay. What would you say to those that are worried that you might get hurt again and this is something that's going to continue?
I appreciate your concern. I really do.
Turn it up.
I love this.
That's as high as it goes.
To the death of me. That's it.
There's our
I
boy,
promise-
double sleeve Tua.
I promise I'll have that video with the volume up next time for everyone here at Kendall Sports Network. We'll see you guys next week.
Please. Go Fins.